What's up, everybody? It's your girl Phaedra, and you are listening to Phaez Place, the podcast. It's easy to get pulled into the status quo. Everybody wants to fit in. But what happens when our faith calls us to be set apart and causes us to get into good trouble? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego can help us answer this question. Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 through 19 and 26 to 28 reads, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God, who we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. Verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together. And they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. When Daniel starts off this 3rd chapter, we see that Babylon has a king who is obsessed with a golden statue. He has forced this 90 by 9 foot statue to be built in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He made this statue such a big deal that he turned it from a political act into a national religion. King Nebuchadnezzar commanded that all people under his reign worship this golden image once they heard the music playing. He was so obsessed with this handmade god that he threatened the lives of anyone who disobeyed his rule. However, the scripture records 3 Hebrew boys who feared God more than they feared the king. When confronted by Nebuchadnezzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him by saying that they did not need to defend themselves to him on this matter. In other words, they had made up their minds. They would not worship any other gods beside the one true God. No apology was to be given for their stand. This was not a proud reply, but it was a firm reply. These men did not lose sight of the crucial matter. What mattered for them was not deliverance, but obedience. As a result of their faith, God showed up in their situation. He did not keep them out of the furnace, but found them in it. God has a knack of both exposing us to, yet keeping us through the fire. Their act of civil disobedience was not only rewarded by God, but by the same enemy that set out to destroy them. Verse 30 says that the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. How I wish more of God's people will have an unapologetic faith, a faith that causes us to follow the heart of God in spite of what our friends, family, or society tells us. So many times we find ourselves bound to a set of rules and ideologies that have been man-made, and we pass them off as if they were ordained by God. God's rules are found in His Word. We don't need to be confused. It's easy to make idols out of anything, such as people, religion, inventions, drugs, music, money, position, nature, materialistic things, or education. But just because it's easy doesn't mean we ought to do it. As believers of God, we have the responsibility of casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bring into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. However, this only can be done when our obedience is fulfilled. What the 3 Hebrew boys taught us is that obedience to God always should be our top priority. Our faith should be so unapologetic that we won't need to defend ourselves when others ask why we refuse to comply with the status quo. We will take pride in getting into good trouble because we know that's what we're called to do. So friends, how have you been unapologetic in your faith? What ways can you encourage yourself to be more unapologetic? Comment below. We'll love to hear from you. Thank you so much for stopping by Phaez Place. I love you all for listening.